You will know, I have offered this resolution as mayor. As background, the city attorney and the city manager have no authority to give instructions or correction to a sitting elected council member because they work for us. As mayor, though, and our body, we can have a resolution about a sitting member. Many of you are aware that there were some situations that arose, and they are outlined in the agreements that were reached that are included in this resolution. There were some situations that arose in late 2018 where inappropriate actions were documented between Councilmember Bacon and two separate staff members. The city of DeBary needs to be an employer where employees feel safe and are confident that federal, state, local laws will be enforced and that the city of DeBary's own policies and rules will be honored. In these two instances, after investigation, it was found that Councilmember Bacon's interactions were inappropriate for an employer that maintains those kinds of safeguards for their employees. There were agreements reached with Councilman Bacon and the employees after a thorough investigation. The investigation did not find that Councilman Bacon's interactions included a direction of staff, which would be a charter violation. And that is the reason that this resolution documents the agreements reached between Councilmember Bacon and the city employees, which resolve the matter in their minds, and it places these agreements in the public record. And the resolution also states that should there be any future breach of these agreements, that the council would take different action, and that action could result in something as severe as removal if it were proven that Councilmember Bacon had behaved in a manner that met the qualifications for being removed from office. That is the background. I do have public participation on this matter. Ryan Renfro, would you please approach the podium and give your address and name?
Ryan Renfro, 250 West Constance, DeBary, Florida, 32713. I do believe that this resolution is not the correct course of action, and I also do believe it's bypassing the city charter and its mandates. I guess the core of the argument is whether or not Councilman Bacon gave direction. Now, myself, I've talked about this, we disagree on this, whether or not terms like should and need to are direction. And I can understand your point of view and whether that's debatable. For me, I consider that direction. If you read the city charter, let me find the right one here. Sorry, excuse me. If you read the city charter section 4.04, it states that no individual member of council shall give order to an officer or an employee of the city. This is where me and you differ on opinion, and apparently I'm assuming legal because I'm not sure who did this investigation or where you guys got your terms, but I'm assuming that it's the city attorney. Unfortunately, well, or fortunately, I find that the section goes on. Recommendations for improvement in the city government and operations shall come through the city manager. But each member of council shall be free to discuss and recommend improvements to the city manager. And the council is free to direct the city manager to implement specific recommendations for improvement in the government operations. This section specifically makes a division between the city council and the city staff. everything is supposed to go through the city manager. While we may debate whether or not Councilman Bacon actually gave direction, I don't believe that there can be any argument that he gave recommendations for improvement to the city. It is stated very, very straightforward in the prohibitions that he cannot do that. He has done that. He may not have given direction, which is debatable, but he did give recommendations for corrections or improvements to the city government. He is not allowed to do that. That is a violation of our charter. With that in mind, the city charter then demands in section 4.0, forfeitures of office, a member of council may forfeit his or her office if the member is, and item 2, violates any express prohibition of the charter. That continues to go on to say, if any of these events should occur, and I don't think there's any doubt that it has occurred at this point, a hearing shall automatically be conducted at the next regularly scheduled council meeting, and the member may be declared to have forfeited his office by the majority vote of the council. I do not believe that with the city charter mandating this, that you can set a resolution in place to deal with this issue. I do think that the resolution should be put forward so that it becomes public knowledge that he is not to communicate with the finance director or ask for personal equipment to be worked on by city employees. But as far as the first 2 items in your resolution, first of all, they're kind of redundant because they're already stated in the city charter. I have very clearly shown that the city charter has been violated, and the city charter is very clear as to what needs to happen next. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next public comments will be from Mort Culligan.
Yes, my name is Morton Culligan, 66 Tanglewood Road in wonderful DeBary, Florida. Now, I think the city council is, this new city council is perfectly capable of handling situations concerning misstatements and perceived misbehavior of the mayor or any council members. If you will recall, former Mayor Garcia was censured by city staff years ago because they thought it was necessary, not a big deal. He sent him a message. He got the message. If you will recall, Mayor Clint Johnson, I think if I recall correctly, he was sanctioned and actually relieved of his post for his behavior. But I think the city council is perfectly able to handle this situation. We must also consider the agenda of people that are attempting to eliminate a council member. Is this a situation where someone is trying to eliminate a council member because they have somebody else in mind? I don't know that. It appears that way. It appears that somebody has a vendetta. We must also consider the agenda of people that are attempting to eliminate any council member. Do they actually care about fairness, or are they attempting to work with others to create a job opening for one of their friends or associates? We don't know. I ask you to carefully consider the character of people that are behind this situation and the true objectives. Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of public participation. In response to the one commenter's reading of the charter, I would like to have an opinion from the legal counsel as to whether he believes that the mandate that there be a hearing, the threshold behavior was there to mandate a hearing.
Yes, Mayor, City Council members. The investigation that was done by both Mr. McLemore and myself, who I actually spoke with all of the witnesses, did not rise, in my opinion, to the level of an order given to an employee. None of the employees that actually heard the situation considered it to be an order, and the employees themselves did not consider them to be orders. And I think that's important. None of the language I saw, none of the documentation I saw rose to that level. With respect to Mr. Renfro's comments that a violation of the charter doesn't have to be just an order, it could also be if there's been a discussion or recommendation of improvements to the city manager, has to come through the city manager as a violation of the charter. The actual forfeiture provision of the charter provides that a member of the council may forfeit his or her office if the member violates any express prohibition of this charter. The language, I think, under section 4.04 of the charter, which is a prohibition, first says no individual member of the council shall give orders to any officer or employee of the city. To me, that's an express prohibition. It goes on to say recommendations for improvements in the city government operations shall come through the city manager, but each member of the council shall be free to discuss or recommend improvements to the city manager, and the council is free to direct the city manager to implement specific recommendations for improvement in city government operations. That may well not be an express prohibition. That's a debatable thing. That's a council call. I do not think that is expressed like the prior sentence, which says no giving of orders. The second one was how something should occur, but not an expression of what should not occur. So I don't think in either situation a violation of the charter occurred. In addition to that, the matters in the resolution, I think, reflect that all of the city employees affected by this interaction have been satisfactorily resolved to them. Councilmember Bacon acknowledges that, and the resolution is brought to the City Council for your consideration. If you agree with it, I think it's fine to approve it. If you disagree and think it rises to some different level, higher level, you certainly, as the Council, have the discretion to consider that. But it's my opinion it probably is something that would be very difficult to prove, and if challenged in a court of law would be something that would be even harder to meet the burden of proof.
Okay. Are there any comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
Sorry, let me see if I'm on mute. There we go. What happens if something else does occur? What's the ramification of that? Do we come back to this again? Is this a slap on the wrist or a warning? I think that needs to be clarified because people are unsure exactly
Understand.
what the repercussions are.
Great question, Councilmember Mayor, council members. If something occurs in the future that went beyond what has something similar to what's occurred, then you certainly, as a council, if it's something prohibited under the charter, you'd be able to have that hearing. It's not my decision or the city manager's decision or even the mayor's decision. It's your decision whether you would proceed as a council with something like that. If the same thing occurred, so it was no greater in severity than what's occurred now, you could consider the matter and issue a censure to the council member and perhaps take some other actions. But if you did not think it rose to a higher level, it would not be a basis for forfeiture.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Councilmember Benfield.
Now that that's been clarified, I would just like to make a comment and a suggestion. The resolution is for the action in the way that I'll be voting tonight and not a personal attack on the person. It's public awareness, so thank you for bringing this to light, and reminder for us all to channel concerns to the city manager and not staff directly. In lieu of this resolution and setting us up for success, our city manager has successfully in the past given us a calendar of items that are coming onto the agenda. So a suggestion would be to do that again so that we can anticipate what's coming on the agenda and give ourselves plenty of time to amply prepare and get the information that we need in the manner that will suffice us to be comfortable in voting. That's my comment. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Would anyone like to entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Councilmember Butland? Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Benfield? Councilmember Bacon? What's, yes? I vote yes. The resolution carries.